How you doing? I'm Callan and this is Slapped Ham. You're about to see some scary videos we found in the foul depths of the internet. So hit that subscribe button and get ready for more creepy content. Just like this. A woman filmed something terrifying inside her neighbor's garage while the entire house was supposed to be empty. The neighbors were away on holiday, nobody was home, but one night she noticed the garage light flickering on and off and decided to start recording this scary video. What her camera captured has been viewed over 33 million times. She called the police. When officers arrived and searched the property, the house was completely empty. There was no sign of forced entry, no evidence that anyone or anything had been inside. The speed of the shadow is what unsettles most viewers. It doesn't move like a person, it doesn't move like an animal. It darts back and forth with a fluidity and pace that's difficult to attribute to anything natural. Was something paranormal pacing inside that empty garage? Or is there a logical explanation for a shadow that moves faster than anything living should?
Again?
Yes.
This next case comes from a popular TikTok account called Jensen's Journey, which usually shares wholesome updates about a young boy's growing love for hockey. But recently, the tone of the posts appears to have shifted. The family began documenting a series of strange moments inside their home that they say they can't explain. In one clip, Jensen can be seen reacting to something off camera. He suddenly becomes frightened, startled by a loud noise.
What? It's okay.
Then he points toward a chair in the room.
Who is it? You see someone over there?
He insists there's a girl there.
Is it boy or girl? A girl? You see the girl?
Jensen continues talking to her for over 15 minutes, gesturing toward the same location, clearly focused on something no one else can see.
Right there? They're by the chair?
Yes.
At first, it could be dismissed as a child's imagination, a moment of fear, or something misinterpreted in a familiar space.
Go show me. Go by her. Can you go give her a high five?
Nope.
Why?
Hi.
You don't want to?
But then another clip surfaces. This time it's captured on the home's security system. The family is preparing to leave for the day. A toy begins to move. It shifts on its own, sliding across the surface. According to the family, this wasn't an isolated incident. They say unusual things have been happening more frequently around the house. They claim door locks have flipped to the lock position on their own, objects have shifted, and the general atmosphere has felt off. In response, they say they've saged the home multiple times, attempting to cleanse the space. Despite this, the activity appears to continue. The family believes the presence may not be harmful. They suggest it could be Jensen's great-grandmother watching over them, possibly even interacting with him in a playful way. Others online aren't so sure. Some viewers point to natural explanations, vibrations, uneven flooring, or airflow causing objects to shift. Others remain unsettled by the combination of Jensen's claims and the footage captured on camera. With no clear answers, the scary videos have left viewers divided.
Oh my god. Holy shit.
A paranormal team's investigation inside the original Conjuring House took an extraordinary turn when a spirit appeared to guide them to a specific book by name.
Glorious. Okay, that's the second time that's been said.
The footage, recorded on the 14th of April 2022, begins in what the investigators describe as the most haunted room in the house, besides the basement, the library.
This is the most haunted room in the house, other than the basement.
The team, known as Paracurious, notices that within moments of setting up their equipment, a K2 meter begins spiking hard, hitting orange and red.
It was just up to orange.
What?
This is the only place in the house that's worked.
Yeah.
A cat ball placed nearby also activates. Something is already responding.
Oh my god. Already. Cat ball just went off.
They switch on a spirit box, and the responses start coming through almost immediately.
Outside.
Do you want me to go outside?
See me.
See you outside. I don't see you outside.
Then something shifts. The box produces a single word that changes the entire direction of the investigation. April.
What is your name? No way. Holy shit, the spirit box down there just said April.
The team begins addressing the spirit by name, and the responses become more focused.
Where would you like me to go, April?
Behind.
Behind?
There.
Behind where?
Go. Read.
Go read.
Words like memories, story, and read start clustering together. The investigators sense the entity wants them to interact with the books around them.
Memories.
It brings back memories. Did your mom and dad used to read to you?
Yes.
Then the spirit box begins repeating a word. Glory, then glorious.
Glorious.
Glorious. Okay, that's the second time that's been said. I'm gonna try and find that. You want me to turn this?
Accident.
The team asks follow-up questions, trying to narrow down what the spirit is pointing them toward.
If it's over here, I will shit myself.
Book.
No. Can you tell me where the Glorious book is?
Down.
Down?
And that's when they find it.
Holy. No way. No.
Sitting on a lower shelf is a book titled A Glorious Accident, the exact title the spirit box had been building toward, word by word.
Do you want me to read A Glorious Accident to you, April?
The investigators are visibly stunned. They ask April if her parents used to read this book to her. The responses come back. Yes, memories, young. It's no longer just an investigation, it feels like a conversation with someone reaching across from the other side, someone tied to a childhood memory in this very room.
Are you sitting here beside me?
Sit.
Oh my god. Okay.
I'm sit.
In the final moments, the team thanks April and a second possible name, Clayton, surfaces briefly, and the closing responses take on a heavier tone. The spirit is nearby, sitting beside them, taking energy.
Oh my god. Are you taking energy?
Touch.
Are you taking energy from her?
Yes. Touch.
Oh my.
Behind.
Was this genuinely intelligent communication from beyond? A spirit not just responding, but leading living people to a specific object that held personal meaning? Or is coincidence enough to explain a book title emerging from white noise?
Glorious.
Glorious. Okay, that's the second time that's been said. Holy... No way. No.
A father and his daughter may have captured something unexplainable during a ghost tour in Galveston, Texas. The scary video was taken several years ago when the pair were exploring one of Galveston's famously haunted properties. The daughter had been snapping live photos on her phone throughout the tour and didn't think much of it at the time. It wasn't until they got home and started reviewing the images that she noticed something strange. In one of the photos, what appears to be a figure can be seen standing inside a window. The shape looks like a man wearing some kind of hat. Then, in the live photo sequence, the figure seems to simply vanish. The father tried zooming in and playing the clip back multiple times to get a better look. The figure is faint and difficult to make out at full resolution, but when examined closely, it does appear to show a distinct silhouette that wasn't visible in the frames before or after. He later showed the footage to one of the tour guides, who agreed it looked like something genuine. The house itself apparently has a long and troubled history, and other visitors have reportedly captured strange images there as well. The father and daughter have since returned to Galveston for more ghost tours, driven by that one unexplained moment. But they've never managed to capture anything quite like it again. Was this a genuine apparition caught in a Galveston window, or could there be a more mundane explanation?
Okay, so I just got home from picking my husband up from work.
TikTok user The Paranormal Press from the United States noticed something deeply unsettling about the house across the street.
The lights across the street were not on in this house, and I'll explain what's going on. Hold on.
The home belonged to her husband's best friend, a man named Avery, who had died just months earlier after suffering a massive heart attack.
So, a few months ago, right over here, I'll zoom in this house, where you see the light on, no cars. It's my husband's best friend. His name was Avery. He came over to our house while he was having a massive heart attack.
Since his passing, the house had sat completely empty. No one had been inside. No one had any reason to be. But when she arrived home one evening, she spotted a light glowing in Avery's living room.
That was Avery's house. You can see it's empty.
There are no cars in the driveway, no visitors, no explanation.
The house is empty though. No cars. Nothing.
Her husband decides to walk over and investigate. There appears to be nobody inside, but the lights are still on. In a follow-up video, she reviews her earlier footage and zooms in on a section of the window.
There's a window that's on the other side, up on the right-hand corner, and you'll see it in another video. The blinds were open. Now they're shut.
The blinds, which had clearly been open during her first recording, now appear to be closed, as if someone or something had adjusted them from the inside.
Yeah, they're pulling down now. Yeah, I know it's really grainy, guys, but...
Was Avery's spirit still lingering in the home where he spent his final days? Or is there a more rational explanation for lights switching on and blinds moving in a house where no living person has set foot?
It just looked like somebody...
A viewer of ours, Chris, was recovering from a short hospital stay in Charlotte, North Carolina, when he experienced something he couldn't explain. His room had a heavy door that latched firmly shut, but twice during his stay the door swung open on its own, with no one on the other side. Chris managed to capture both incidents on camera.
Look, let's do it again. Do it again.
The latch releases and the door opens as though someone is pulling the handle from the hallway, but when you look, there's nobody there.
Body. Shut that door, man. Shut it.
It happens again in this follow-up clip.
There it goes. What the frig?
What makes this even more unnerving is what the nurses told him. According to staff on that floor, the entire level of the hospital was known to be haunted. They described lights flickering without cause, dark shadows appearing in rooms that were supposed to be empty, and disembodied voices heard echoing through the corridors late at night. Chris said the room itself had an unsettling energy from the moment he was admitted. And after seeing the door open by itself, not once, but twice, he was convinced something else was sharing that space with him. Hospitals are places where countless people have taken their last breath. Could the spirits of former patients still be wandering the halls? Quick reminder, if you have your own scary videos you want to submit, head to slappedhamsubmissions.com.
What the frig?
A homeowner received a motion alert from their doorbell camera while they were at work, and the footage it captured has left thousands struggling for an explanation. The video, uploaded to Reddit by Trash Scientist, shows a bright glowing orb moving above the front garden. The poster's first thought was a paper lantern, but the movement is far too unpredictable. When they got home, they checked over the fences into neighbouring gardens. There was no debris on the ground, no remnants of a lantern, no sign of anything that could have caused it. A drone was also ruled out. There was no audible buzzing or rotor noise in the footage. So what was it? Some viewers have suggested ball lightning, while others believe it could be something far more unexplained. Security footage from a nightclub in Kingston upon Hull, Yorkshire has captured something that's difficult to explain. The clip, submitted by a man named Chris Davis, shows the interior of the venue. There are two patrons nearby who seem to notice the movement. Camera angle shows the surrounding area clearly, and there are no visible strings, wires, or anyone hiding just out of frame. Nightclubs and pubs across England have long histories of paranormal reports. Many of these buildings are centuries old, repurposed from homes, inns, and even former mortuaries. Kingston, upon Hull itself, has a reputation as one of Yorkshire's most haunted cities. Was this simply a vibration or air current caught at just the right angle? Or did something unseen decide to take a seat in this Yorkshire nightclub? A Reddit user known as Joey's Adventures shared a chilling image captured by their home security camera in the early hours of the morning. The poster's sister had been scrolling through the camera's event history when she stumbled across a single frame recorded at exactly 4 o'clock in the morning. In it, a dark figure appears in the room, and it doesn't look human. At the time the image was captured, a neighbour had been visiting and was awake in the house. He told the family he'd been sitting down for most of the night, which is an odd detail in its own right. But he also admitted to feeling something, a presence, walk into the room at one point during the early hours. The poster asked the internet to try and debunk the image, but many who examined it struggled to come up with a convincing explanation. The shape is too defined to be a simple shadow. Was this a trick of light and camera compression? Or did this family's security system capture something far more sinister lurking in their home at 4 in the morning? In 1995, a 21-year-old electrical engineering student named Mike Markham was tinkering in his garage in Stanbury, Missouri. He'd built a Jacob's ladder, 2 metal rods with high-voltage electricity arcing between them. And then he did something no textbook would recommend. He aimed a modified CD laser directly into the arc.
Was when I fired the laser, the spark stuck where the laser was, and right above it there was like a little shimmering mirage effect, like a road in the desert, I guess you could say.
What happened next, according to Markham, defied explanation.
But this was like a small circular, spherical looking. So I ended up, it's like, whoa, this looks strange.
A shimmering circular distortion appeared in the air, a rippling window to somewhere else. He called it a vortex.
Circular area.
Yeah, it's like I've talked to a couple of physicists. They call it a vortex, but
to test it, he tossed a small sheet metal screw into the center. It vanished. Then seconds later, it reappeared, several feet from where it had gone in.
But anyhow, I tossed it in there and the screw disappeared. And then roughly half a second later or so, it reappeared where it would normally be landing. So...
Convinced he was onto something extraordinary, Markham decided to scale up.
Basically, I almost have to start from scratch except building the transformer. But so I figured I'd make it just a bigger version of what I did.
He stole 6 industrial transformers, each weighing over 130 kilograms from a local power station.
Wow. And so in broad daylight, you took the transformers, loaded them up in a pickup truck, I guess?
Yeah.
And hauled them to your house?
Yep.
I see. And you had how many of them?
6.
The result was a massive blackout across the region and a swift arrest.
When you did this, according to the newspaper, you blacked out or browned out portions of your whole town, is that correct?
Yeah, I was like overloading the power grid because I was drawing more power than I thought I was.
But jail time only made him famous. After his release, he became a cult hero on Art Bell's Coast to Coast AM, captivating millions of late-night listeners with his claims of bending space-time in a suburban garage.
Well, I mean, basically, well, like I said, when I first discovered this, I was just making a fancy Jacob's Ladder / light show. So
okay.
I didn't set out to actually go out and build a time. It's like, I want to build a time machine. Let's try this.
Right.
That's not the way it happens. So.
Then, in 1998, Markham made a chilling announcement on air. He said he was just 30 days away from conducting a human-scale test. And then, he vanished. Rumours swirled. One of the strangest involved an old newspaper clipping allegedly from the 1930s describing a man found drowned on a California beach. He was wearing modern clothing and clutching a strange rectangular electronic device that no one at the time could identify. Nearly 2 decades later, in 2015, Markham resurfaced back on Coast to Coast AM.
Yeah, and I had no way to measure the laser power, but it was hot enough. I mean, it was hot enough to where it lowered the resistance of the air to get an arc started. So
he claimed he'd conducted an experiment in 1998 and experienced what he called a time slip. Markham said he regained consciousness not in Kansas, but in a field in Ohio, hundreds of miles away from where the experiment had taken place. He had no clear memory of how he got there. Even worse, when he started piecing things together, he realized something was very wrong. From his perspective, almost no time had passed, but according to newspapers and calendars, it was now roughly 2 years later.
All right, so you climb up on the bucket and you jump. And then what?
Well, long story short, it feels like I got hit with a flashbang, and I wake up and I'm 800 miles east of there, and 2 years later. So that's basically, there ain't no other way to put it.
He described it as a Swiss cheese memory. Fragments missing, others scrambled. He spoke of gravitational locking and plasma tornadoes, methods, he said, to stabilize temporal rifts.
Plasma may be even more efficient if I used the magnetic field to steer it. So that's what I ended up doing.
Use the magnetic field to do what?
Basically, in simple terms, this thing looks like basically a plasma tornado.
In early 2024, Mike Markham passed away. With his death, whatever he truly experienced may now be lost for good. If he had more notes, more memories, or more private explanations, they seem not to have surfaced in any way that settles the mystery. What remains is the legend of a young man in a Missouri garage standing over an arc of electricity, watching a strange shimmer form in the air. Whatever the truth may be, Madman Markham remains one of the strangest figures in modern paranormal lore. His story is part science fiction, part cautionary tale, and part unsolved mystery. And nearly 30 years later, that garage experiment in Missouri still leaves us with the same haunting question. What do you think really happened? A paranormal researcher has shared some Ring camera audio that's difficult to explain away. In the footage, captured by a home security camera, a faint voice can be heard. Then again, just seconds later, this type of recording is what paranormal investigators call an EVP, or electronic voice phenomenon. EVPs are among the most commonly reported types of paranormal evidence. They involve voices or sounds appearing on recordings that weren't heard by anyone present at the time of capture. Some researchers believe these voices belong to spirits attempting to communicate, while skeptics attribute them to radio interference, audio pareidolia, or background noise being misinterpreted by the listener's brain. What do you think this Ring camera captured? A stray voice or something reaching out from the other side? This next clip comes from one of our very own, a slapped ham moderator who helps run our live streams, Queen Joker. On the 28th of February 2026, she and a friend visited the old Idaho State Penitentiary, a site with a long and violent history that has drawn paranormal investigators for years. They were exploring the North Wing, known as 2 House, taking photos and videos as they moved through the crumbling cell blocks. Other visitors were nearby but heading toward the exit, leaving the two of them increasingly alone in the wing. At the time, nothing seemed out of the ordinary. It was only later, when reviewing the footage at home, that she heard it. Toward the end of the clip, a faint whisper cuts through the ambient noise. It appears to say, "I'm in here." The voice doesn't match either woman. It doesn't match the departing visitors. It's quiet, almost pleading, as though someone or something confined to one of those cells wanted to be noticed. The old Idaho State Penitentiary operated from 1872 to 1973, housing some of the region's most dangerous criminals. Riots, executions, and harsh conditions defined its history. If any walls could hold on to the echoes of suffering, these would be the ones.
Let me tell you this, right?
Yeah.
A video has surfaced online in which pop star Robbie Williams appears to describe an encounter with what he calls a reptilian entity.
I was in bed with a woman, right? I'm lying on the pillow and I'm looking at her face, right? Her face turned into what I could only describe as a reptilian.
In the clip, Williams speaks candidly about the experience, claiming he came face to face with a being he believed was not entirely human.
She looks at me and she says, "I'm not a reptilian." Boom! Take it, make of that what you will. That's what happened.
Now, Williams has been open in the past about his interest in the unexplained. He's spoken publicly about UFO sightings and strange encounters on multiple occasions. But this particular claim takes things further. According to Williams, the being he encountered had distinctly reptilian features, and the experience left a lasting impression on him. Whether you believe in the reptilian theory or not, hearing a celebrity of Williams' stature speak so openly about it is certainly unusual. What do you think? Could Robbie Williams have genuinely encountered something beyond explanation, or is there a simpler answer here?
Her face turned into what I could only describe as a reptilian. She looks at me and she says, "I'm not a reptilian." Boom!
If you want to see more scary videos like these, then hit that subscribe button and turn on all channel notifications. That way you'll always know when we drop our scary video compilations. In October of 2010, a 3-year-old boy vanished without a trace in the wilderness surrounding Mount Shasta. What followed was not just a missing persons case, but a deeply unsettling account involving a figure the child believed was his own grandmother, and something far stranger hiding beneath the forest. The area around Mount Shasta has long carried a reputation for mystery. Towering forests, winding trails, and remote campsites stretch for miles, creating an environment where disorientation can happen quickly. For decades, hikers and campers have reported strange lights, unexplained sounds, and a lingering sense that something is watching from the tree line. It was here, in this isolated setting, that a family set up camp for what should have been a routine outing. According to reports, the boy, referred to only as John Doe, disappeared around 6:30 in the evening while his family was nearby. One moment he was present, and the next he was gone. There were no signs of a struggle, no cries for help, and no clear indication of which direction he had gone. As daylight began to fade, panic set in. Search teams were quickly organized. Family members, volunteers, and law enforcement combed the surrounding trails and thick brush. The terrain was difficult, with dense undergrowth and uneven ground slowing progress. For 5 hours, the search continued into the night, with flashlights cutting through the darkness and voices calling out his name. Despite covering the same areas repeatedly, there was no sign of the child. Then, just as suddenly as he had disappeared, the boy was found. He was discovered lying in a thicket right beside a trail that had already been searched multiple times. The location raised immediate questions. Searchers were certain they had passed through that exact area earlier, yet the boy had not been there. He was alive and physically unharmed, but what he would later describe left his family deeply unsettled. When the boy returned home, he saw his grandmother, Kathy. What should have been a moment of comfort quickly turned into something far more disturbing. The child became confused and frightened, insisting that he had already been with her. According to his account, a woman identical to his grandmother had taken him. At first, he believed this figure was real. She looked the same, spoke in a familiar voice, and behaved in a calm, reassuring manner. The boy followed her willingly. However, he soon realized something was wrong. He described being led into what he called a cave or dungeon. The space was narrow, dark, and filled with objects that did not belong in a natural environment. He spoke of dusty purses, old wallets, weapons, and bags scattered across the floor, all covered in dirt and cobwebs. The air was heavy, and the walls seemed to close in around him. Inside the cave, the child noticed something even more unusual. He described seeing other figures, which he referred to as robots, or people with distorted faces. These beings did not move. They stood or lay in place completely motionless, as though frozen in time. Despite their stillness, the boy claimed that they were somehow aware of him. According to his account, these entities examined him. The details he provided were striking, especially given his age. He said the cave was filled with spiders, and that there was a ladder along one wall leading up toward a bright light. What troubled investigators was his statement that the light appeared to be daylight, even though he knew it was nighttime outside. The woman who resembled his grandmother remained with him throughout the encounter. He described her as polite but focused on a specific and unusual request. She placed a piece of sticky paper on the ground and asked the child to defecate on it. The boy refused. It was at this point that his perception of her began to change. He noticed something unnatural about her appearance. He later told his family that sparks and a faint red glow were coming from her head. This led him to describe her not as a person, but as a robot. The resemblance to his grandmother was no longer comforting. Instead, it became something deeply unsettling. The figure then told him something that added another layer of mystery to the encounter. She claimed that he was not truly human and that he had come from outer space. According to the boy, she said that he had been placed into his mother's stomach by these beings. Eventually, the encounter came to an end. The figure led him out of the cave and placed him beneath a bush. She told him to stay there, and shortly after, that is exactly where searchers found him. For his family, the ordeal didn't end with his return. His story was consistent, detailed, and delivered with the sincerity of a child recounting a real experience. While some dismissed it as imagination, others found the specifics difficult to ignore. Adding to the unease was something his grandmother revealed. Kathy explained that she had been to that exact location months earlier. She had camped near the same creek with a companion. During the night, she recalled seeing a pair of red eyes staring at them from the darkness. It was a brief but deeply unsettling moment that she could not explain. The following morning, things became even stranger. Both Kathy and her companion woke up outside of where they had been sleeping. Kathy found herself face down in the dirt, no longer inside her tent or sleeping bag. Her companion, who had been in an RV, was also outside on the ground. Neither could recall how they had ended up there. Both of them had identical marks on their bodies. They described the marks as a red sting or puncture wound on the back of the neck, similar in appearance to a spider bite. For the rest of the day, both reported feeling unwell, describing a lingering sense of weakness and discomfort. The connection between Kathy's experience and her grandson's account raised difficult questions. The child's description of red lights and robotic features seemed to echo her memory of glowing eyes in the dark. While there was no direct evidence linking the two events, the similarities were hard to dismiss. The case later gained wider attention through the work of David Paulides, who included the story in his book Missing 411, North America and Beyond. According to Paulides, the boy's family came forward after hearing the case discussed on a radio program hosted by Whitley Strieber. However, the lack of verifiable details has led to significant skepticism. The names were changed, the exact location was withheld, and there are no publicly available police reports confirming the incident. Critics argue that without independent verification, the story cannot be confirmed as factual. Despite this, the case has continued to circulate within paranormal communities, largely because of the unusual nature of the child's account. Some researchers have drawn parallels between the boy's description of the robotic humanoids and ancient folklore. In various traditions, particularly within Celtic mythology, there are references to beings that resemble lifeless figures or mannequins. These entities are often described as having fixed expressions and limited movement, almost as though they are controlled by an unseen force. Stories of the little people or fairy folk sometimes include accounts of humans being taken into hidden spaces beneath the earth. In these tales, victims describe strange environments filled with objects that do not belong, as well as encounters with beings that appear human, but behave in unnatural ways. Other interpretations lean toward extraterrestrial explanations. The doppelganger, the examination, and the underground setting have led some to suggest an alien abduction scenario. The grandmother's earlier experience, red eyes, missing time, and unexplained marks, is often cited as supporting this idea, though there's no physical evidence to confirm it. Skeptics point to simpler explanations. The child may have become lost and later created a story to process the experience. At that age, imagination and memory can blur, and the robots and cave could be misinterpretations of shadows or unfamiliar surroundings. The grandmother's incident may also have natural causes, from sleep disturbances to insect bites and fatigue. There are also questions about the story itself. With no verifiable records and its spread through books, radio, and online forums, some argue the account may have been altered or embellished over time. Still, a few details remain difficult to ignore. The boy was found in an area already searched, and his story remained consistent despite its complexity. Cases like this continue to surface around Mount Shasta, a location long associated with strange reports and unexplained encounters. In the end, the case remains unresolved. It may be a child's imagination shaped by fear and confusion, or something far more unusual. If even part of the story is true, it suggests the possibility of something hidden just beyond the trail, something capable of appearing as someone we trust. So what do you think really happened? Continue watching more scary videos. These are the scariest of 2025.